Welcome to another. I guess I'm keep doing these streams two in a day. So welcome to another stream. Let's just call it that. Another stream for You Left Shit Out. I'm your host Compton J. It's a couple of interviews, topics that dropped late today. So I'm gonna do this stream for all the people that's still up on the East Coast, and those, of course, on the West Coast, where this is just getting to be dinner time. Um, I just wanted to address both of these. So, one, Briahna Joy Gray, friend of the show, friend of the network, brought on Khanna. She talked about a couple of things. She talked about the Max Blumenthal item or part of this. And then she talked about, they went on later in the conversation to talk more about Democrats, Democratic strategies, progressive Democrats, and that type of thing. That's actually what I want to start with. That's what I want to go to first. And then there's also the topic of, I guess, Krystal Ball responded to, didn't even respond. I'll read the tweet, but Krystal Ball put a post up in response to AOC's tweet, and it offended her. A hit dog will holler. Just remember that expression when we cover that part. So that's the other part that I want to cover. All right, so let's go ahead and bring up the first part. As always, like, share, subscribe to the channel. Let's share the first item here. Let's go. Okay, so the first item, this tweet here. Is this it? No, this one right here. Okay, so we have AOC here, who is tweeting out about, I'm going to make it real big, so it's really big in the screen here for the audience, the viewing audience. So that's the tweet. This is what's kind of stirred it all up here. So let's go through this thread. So Amazon Labor Union made a post. Current vote 1518, no votes 1154, 364 votes in ALU's favor to wrap up today's count. Counting will resume 10 a.m. tomorrow. And AOC does her virtue signaling, as she always does, right? She does this. Give the muscle sign, 3 muscle signs, quote tweets that. So let's go down. Of course, there's several leftists who respond to AOC with her virtue signaling. And it says here, for example, with Ryan, Amazon workers were heartbroken after AOC bails on promise to march with them. So Ryan Knight, friend of the show, friend of the network, calling it out. Actually, let me tweet that now. And then we have Mo also kind of putting up that same article. But let's scroll down to Krystal Ball's response. Okay. This is Krystal Ball. Where is... So this is AOC. Now, AOC, can you see that? Can you see how many subscribers AOC has? 12.9 million followers, not subscribers, followers. Do you think her influence could have done anything to help any of these Amazon workers? Why isn't she tweeting, trying to get people to go help these Amazon workers, each location? Why aren't you active with this? Why? That would be my question. So, but let's go ahead and go to Krystal's tweet here, and then AOC responds. So obviously, it hit a nerve. Here's the guy who organized the union drive talking about how you left them high and dry. These are your constituents, and you couldn't be bothered to show up until they're on the cusp of victory. Right. You got the muscle signs when they're about to cross the finish line without your ass. But you want a virtue signal for the liberals who now have replaced the leftists that follow you, that support you, so that those liberals can see, I'm a leftist, I follow AOC. Look at 3 muscle signs with this quote tweet. So we're going to play this video. These are, okay, so we're going to play this video. Oh, actually, let's play her response. The warehouse isn't in my district, and maybe you should look up a map before claiming so. So she decided to piggyback off. She decided to zero in on the part where it says, these are your constituents. Instead of the part about a union drive talking about how you left them high and dry. This is the important part. Let's see if she addresses it. One scheduling conflict aside, one excuse aside, bitch. That's basically what she's saying. We have requested oversight investigation into Amazon, met with Amazon workers in Woodside warehouse and more. Hope you do more. Get to the part where you reneged on this. Get to that part. AOC, you fraud. Get to the part where you renege. Where is that at? Terrible. Terrible. Anyway, before I keep going, let's listen a little bit here to this interview.
So talk to me about, you mentioned, down in Bessemer, Bernie went, you had celebrities going. I think Danny Glover went down there. President of the United States makes a mention of it, although I personally think he could have gone a lot further, but he makes a mention of it. What has been the political reaction from that same group of people to you all's efforts?
There is none. I mean, we don't obviously it's the proof is in the pudding. We had politicians cancel on us the day before our rallies. Mm-hmm. AOC, who else? Mondaire Jones, people.
So nothing to say about the person, the people. Isn't that what politicians do? When another politician attacks them, they just attack the politician instead of talking about the issue that affects the American people. So instead of thinking you're dunking on another millionaire, how about addressing what's in the video? How about doing that?
Who I spoke to in person and personally invited them to come to Staten Island to talk to their constituents. They have people that work there in their district, to try to help, gain some support. We had no politicians from the left or the squad show up yet. And we don't receive the same attention as Bessemer at all. And I think it's quite obvious. We don't have the same resources. We just barely made it here. We're on a week-to-week budget. We don't have money. And it's just really disheartening when I think about the whole thing, how they abandoned us. And I kept quiet about a lot of things.
So let's go with what AOC says. It's not her district, and that's why she dunked on her, because she said it was her district and it's not. Okay, as if that's the biggest point, not the point that you reneged. So let's go back here.
the whole thing, how they abandoned us. And,
abandoned. Oh, it's a scheduling conflict. Was it a scheduling conflict for your fucking tweet where you want to take credit? What happened to the scheduling conflict for your tweet, AOC? You wasn't scheduled to do something else? Or is that all the time you have? I mean, you're not doing anything legislatively at all. So the least you can do is do this activism. Let's continue with Chris.
I kept quiet about a lot of things because, as soon as I say something negative, they're going to try to point me out like, oh, Chris, you got an evil or whatever. But it's the truth. The truth is that this campaign should be the most talked about campaign in the country. And not no shade at Alabama or anything else that's going on in the labor movement, but we're talking about workers from the bottom that have nothing, that not only got over 4,000 workers to sign up for this independent union in less than a year, but we got 2 elections. Wow. Not 1, but 2. And we have 2 more buildings that we're still working on right now as we speak. And potentially we'll have 4 elections. And I can't answer those questions about why we're not getting that support. I have my own opinions about it, but it's just sad to see that this is what we're dealing with when this is an opportunity of a lifetime.
And what were those communications like? You mentioned AOC and
Mondaire Jones, who's my district, by the way, in New York. Yeah.
What were those interactions like with them?
Well, yeah, they were positive when I met them in person. I went down to D.C. when Cori Bush was on the steps. I met Cori Bush as well. There's pictures of all of us there. We stayed on the steps. I brought them food. I brought them ALU shirts. I had workers with me, 4 workers with me. We tried to convince them to come up here. AOC was real excited about it. She was like, yeah, I'm there. Take my information. Talk to all their staffers. I met with their team several times. I had like 3 meetings over Zoom or whatever we was talking on. Leading up to our rally, everything was good. And then the last second, it was like, yeah, they can't. They can't make it.
And
I was like,
did that word come from them, or was it their staffers, or what was your sense as to give us your opinion? You said you have opinions. Give us your opinion on why you think it is they didn't join.
Well, I don't know. I don't know why they didn't join, but their staff came to me and they called me. They didn't give me a real answer besides they said it's a security threat for AOC, and I'm like,
So they told him it's a security threat, and she's saying scheduling conflict aside. Remember that in the tweet? Security threat or a scheduling conflict?
Sleeping on the steps where in D.C. She had no security where she had maybe 1 person there or whatever. But it didn't make any sense because they said they canceled all her in-person meetings for the rest of the month. And then a couple of weeks later, she had the Met Gala. So I'm like, okay. I knew.
That's devastating.
What was there a scheduling conflict for the Met Gala? Or was that the conflict? Or better question, who else did you renege on that night that you went to the Met Gala?
That's a devastating point. I mean, so you don't have time to go see the Amazon workers, but you have time to wear a tax the rich dress while you're around the richest assholes in the fucking country.
Yeah, you don't have time to actually go speak truth to power with Jeff Bezos, but you have time to like cosplay with a bunch of fancy people.
Yeah, and look, I'd like an explanation. I'm not saying all this stuff to try to be definitive and to cancel people or whatever. Like, no, I want to hear, what is it? Why is it? Tell us. Like, what happened?
Why? Is their answer really going to change anything? Really? No, it's not. Their AOC answering that question of why is not going to change it. Going to change anything. but you got the fucking audacity to tweet out muscle, to tweet out muscle, quote tweet a muscle that about the vote count for this union. Just the grift, like you're just using people to keep you under the reputation of leftists when you long ago left that shit long ago. Now you're using tweets to keep that reputation that you should no longer have.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Dang, I'm still waiting for that. I mean, they haven't reached out to me since, so
wow.
They have my contact information. They know how to reach me. Everybody, I think everybody in the left by now knows how to reach me. I'm very accessible. So
that's been my experience, certainly.
So is
right. So it's like, the excuses that these politicians make is bullshit.
Yeah.
Even, I'm gonna even share with y'all, I was talking with, Bernie's people as well. And they were like, oh, we're going to bring you to Congress to testify. That was over a year ago. So it never happened.
Well, if any of them are listening right now, which I hope they will, they should still do that. If Bernie's people are listening, anybody who's affiliated with his team, if any of AOC's people are listening, obviously the way that this went down before is unacceptable, and it gets all of us angry because it's a very important thing that you're fighting for, and we could use all the support that we could possibly get. So, you should still be able to testify in front of Congress. And if anybody is listening who could potentially make that happen, well, let's try to make up for some wrongs that just happened.
Yeah, it's not too late, guys. You can still come through and help out an effort that really deserves a lot of support and attention.
Agree.
Chris, where are we right now? The vote is coming up.
I'll stop it there. You know what? For people who claim to have the same policy demands, this should not be this hard. It should not be this hard for people who claim they want Medicare for all, for example, for you to show us, to prove to us that you're serious. Force the vote would have proved you're serious. That would have energized your cause. So let's now cover her response here. So here we go. We did cover this, but this is so laced with pettiness and attitude when you're the one who reneged. Yes, it's just really bizarre to me. Really bizarre to me. And look at this fucking piece of douche right here. Now, I know a lot of you like Dan Price. I don't give a fuck about the motherfucker. He's a capitalist. Fuck the motherfucker. So y'all can like the motherfucker all you want. Listen to this. I love and admire Krystal greatly, but I have scheduling conflicts constantly. Life happens. Things come up. I don't think realistically to ask one person to be at every event. You see? He's being class conscious. Dan Price is being class conscious here. Because I bet, Dan, when you have scheduling conflicts, you call the people and you tell them. And what do? Do you reschedule? Huh? Fuckface Dan? Do you reschedule? You fuckface Dan. So while you want to come in here and play Captain Save-A-Ho for your fellow class loyalists, it's because you want to do that. You're coming here, butting in here, saying shit you shouldn't even be. It's none of your fucking business. You aren't a politician, fuckface Dan. No one voted you in, fuckface Dan. No one phoned for you, fuckface Dan. So shut the fuck up. But the people who think he's left all liked his shit and it's piggy and it's gonna go, oh, then AOC must be good. You see the grift? You see how the Overton window just gets pushed to the left, to the right? Here. So the class conscious piece of shit, fuckface Dan, decides to come and play Captain Save-A-Ho. And the thing is, I'm not defending Krystal Ball because I have critiques for her too, but you're completely unneeded, Dan. Have a coconut smile and shut the fuck up. Not one member of the squad showed up. They all ghosted Chris, and this was just another event. It wasn't the most substantial worker-led organization effort at one of the most powerful companies in the world. They all had excuses. For all of them, many months of this organizing drive, she's just a fucking joke. She's look at this shit. Look. This person is a fucking actress. It's so many fucking people fooled by this person here. Just terrible. Anyway, so I almost don't want to go in here. So let's see here. Let's get with Jordan. With respect, there's no security concerns with sending out support to Amazon labor trying to win the first union. Amazon to 13 million followers. Thank you, Jordan. And I've had issues with Jordan. But when a person, even if a person I've had issue with says something that's correct, I'm going to give you props. Okay, AOC, we can't make it, Chris, to your event, but because I can't make it and I promised you, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tweet that shit out. You got some graphics? Let me tweet that shit out. I'm going to tag you. And then on the day of or the day before, I'm going to tweet out again and ask people to come down there and support you. You see how many other good things you could do? And there was no security concerns at the Met Gala, was there? These people are actors. I don't understand how anybody is even still falling for this shit. How are you still falling for this? I really don't understand. How are you still falling for these people, the squad and AOC? Let's see here. Look at this fake bullshit here. Like, that is so... there goes fuckface Dan again. I'm trying to see if there's any other back and forth here. I don't necessarily see it. So I'm going to assume that that's all, but not a good look from a leftist perspective for this person. AOC. Just not a good look. Well, let's go through the quote tweets. This stolen valor belongs to shut down Amazon and the people that show. Yeah. See, she's trying to get credit. Why not say, sorry I couldn't make it, but happy to see you're still doing good. That would have been received a lot better. Do that next time. but let's look and see what people are. So you abandoned them and promised to be there for them. Don't try to pretend you care. Shut the fuck up, you fucking fraud. Here's another one. You literally ghosted them, you fraud. Fake. You swear she did something by the way she tweets. Right. You swear like you did something. Just a maybe we should start using the snake emoji for AOC. I mean, we can use it for multiple people. So maybe AOC is next in line for the snake emoji, along with let's see some of the comments. Can we see AOC tweets once more? Yes, I will put in and like I said, I have issues with Jordan, but he was right in that sense. And I'll put that on the screen. So let's go back to that and I guess dig more into it. How can I find? See, I went to Krystal Ball, I think, is how I easily found her tweets. So maybe that's how I did it. Okay, so there's Jordan. Is there anybody else? Oh, there is. Okay, so right here is where I want to go, is where I want to be. All right, so let's go here. So here's the original tweet again. So 3 muscle emojis, quote tweet. So that's her original tweet for the person who asked. And then let's go down chronological order here. So here are other people outside. There's Ryan, puts out the article. Then this is Krystal Ball again. And now let's go. This is AOC. So if you were asking for her second reply, just answering the question here. This is her second. The warehouse isn't in my district. Did you know that when you promised to show up? When you told them, yes, we're going to come, didn't you know that wasn't in his district? Are you only helping to unionize? Are you only interested in unionizing people in your district? Is that the only people? So why are you saying this? JB, shout out to JB. Who cares if it wasn't in your district? It still affects them anyway. Didn't you go to Ohio to campaign with Nina Turner to help get her elected? That's not in your district. That wasn't your district, but you saw the value in doing that, but you didn't bother to go just a different part of New York City. And then for the person who asked for what Professor Zunga said, Professor said many people from her district work there. She knows this and she just doesn't care. Sick of these Thank you, Professor. And thank you for the person asking about this. So it's not in your district. Do you care about the workers in your district, where they work and how they're being treated by their employees? Do you care about that, AOC? These people are just complete frauds. And there's really nothing else to say. They're complete frauds. So I'm gonna get to the Briahna Joy Gray video here. Actually, let's make this smaller again, back to the normal size, and then I'll reshare my screen. But let's go to, what is this here? Hang on a second here. Oh, I'm reading something Nick. Okay, so I'm reading something Nick sent me. Okay. Okay. Maybe he's watching the stream. Okay, so I was going to go to the Briahna Joy Gray. So let's go to Bad Faith podcast in Khanna. So let's see. Wow. This is not the one. I know she did a subsequent one with Max Blumenthal's reply or reaction to the Khanna interview she did. But let's cover the original interview first before we get to the Max Blumenthal reaction, because that's actually the video that popped up when I just did a search for it. So let's find the first. Okay, so this is the original video. Now I'll share my screen that I have it. Let's unshare there and put this next one up. So now let's go over the Khanna. We're not gonna do the whole interview. We're just gonna do a little bit of it, a snippet. I think this is it. Yeah.
Max put out something calling.
And let me see what the time code is that I'm looking for this. 3738. Okay, so let's go to 3738. Let's see here. Okay, I'll go a little bit before that. All right, so let's see what Briahna's covering. Let's talk about it on the other side.
For student loan servicers, $2.7 million more dollars for student loan servicers, and on down the list. There's an ongoing conversation about how this is going to affect Democrats in midterms. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez recently gave an interview where she said the Democrats are in trouble for not pursuing some of these popular agenda items. You disagreed.
Well, I hope everybody will join me. TakeOnBigTech.com. TakeOnBigTech.com.
That guy. Just a funny kid.
Andrea Ocasio-Cortez said in recent.
Okay, so since the commercial popped up, let's go
$30 billion additional in military spending. None of these domestic priorities. No student debt cancellation. More money for student loan servicers. $2.7 million more dollars for student loan servicers, and on down the list. There's an ongoing conversation about how this is going to affect Democrats in midterms. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez recently gave an interview where she said the Democrats are in trouble for not pursuing some of these popular agenda items. You disagreed.
In terms of the November election, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said in recent days that she thinks that the Democratic Party is in trouble because of the president. Listen to what she said.
This is really about collapse in support among young people, among the Democratic base, feeling like they are not, that they worked overtime to get this president elected, and they aren't necessarily being seen.
Is she right?
The president has done an extraordinary job. We've passed the American Rescue Plan. We've passed infrastructure. Here's the biggest thing we ought to highlight. $20 billion.
The president is doing an excellent job. His approval rating on the economy is down to 33%. His overall approval rating is down to 40%. Inflation is at, I believe, is over 7% or 7.5%. They're instigating a war. Evictions are taking place. Homeless population is increasing. Where is he doing a great job at? And as a leftist, or as a person who is being given a label as a leftist, because to me you're not, but as a leftist, who's a person who's being given this label, do you know what you're doing when you say the president's great and you're a leftist? Do you know what that means? You're participating in shifting the Overton window to the right. You, Khanna. So let's proceed to hear your bullshit about how this president's doing great.
She thinks that the Democratic Party is in trouble because of the president. Listen to what she said.
This is really about the collapse in support among young people, among the Democratic base, feeling like they are not, that they worked overtime to get this president elected, and they aren't necessarily being seen.
Is she right?
President has done an extraordinary job. We've passed the American Rescue Plan. We've passed infrastructure. Here's the biggest thing we ought to highlight. $20 billion Intel is investing in Ohio. You talk about the revitalization of the Midwest. We're delivering. Let's pass the CHIPS Act, get it to the president. Of course, there are other things we ought to do, but this president has met the moment in very difficult circumstances.
Americans might disagree with you.
He's met the moment. All you have to do is show the freaking poll numbers, and I'm going to show some too.
Approval ratings only 40% in the latest Reuters Ipsos poll.
All right, so Joe Biden's approval rating is 40%. There are an increasing number of independents as folks no longer want to identify with the Democratic Party. As I say frequently, if you go to the comment section of any pop culture website like the Shade Room, you'll see people still talking about how they didn't get their stimulus checks and they're waiting for student debt cancellation. Why do you think that Biden has met the moment?
Well, first of all, I participated in the Medicare hearing yesterday and pointing out that
I noticed Khanna, and I've seen a few interviews of him. I noticed what he does is when they ask a question, he inserts a comment to ensure his leftist credentials before he's about to go into some shit that's not left. I'm noticing a pattern with him. That's the pattern. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and play some more.
$12,000 that American working families are paying to private health insurance and the $16,000 that American businesses are paying to private health insurance is a tax. It's the biggest tax on working families, and why we need Bernie Sanders as Medicare for all. That would be a huge tax cut for most Americans and most businesses. And would provide finally health care to everyone. So I am a 110% supporter of Medicare for all, Bernie Sanders' vision, and it's building support in the House. Obviously, we're not there, but the fact that we're having hearings, the fact that we have Jeffrey Sachs, the fact that so many people who are listening to this are advocating for it, we're making progress. Now, there are other places that I think we need to deliver. A $15 minimum wage. I wish the president would cancel student loans. I've called for that.
I forgot what the fucking question is. This guy's rambling. Let me see what the question is here.
As I say frequently, if you go to the comment section of any pop culture website like the Shade Room, you'll see people still talking about how they didn't get their stimulus checks and they're waiting for student debt cancellation. Why do you think that Biden has met the moment?
Well, first of all, I participated in the Medicare hearing yesterday.
So why do you think he's met the moment? He hasn't. So let me go ahead. I'm Khanna. Let me go ahead and delay by telling the people, her audience, who obviously is for Medicare for all the things I'm doing for Medicare for all, because the answer to that question will be a disappointment. That's what he's doing.
Pointing out that the $12,000 that American working families are paying to private health insurance and the $16,000 that American businesses are paying to private health insurance is a tax. It's the biggest tax on working families, and why we need Bernie Sanders as Medicare for all. That would be a huge tax cut for most Americans and most businesses. And would provide finally health care to everyone. So I am a 110% supporter of Medicare for all, Bernie Sanders' vision, and it's building support in the House. Obviously, we're not there, but the fact that we're having hearings, the fact that we have Jeffrey Sachs, the fact that so many people who are listening to this are advocating for it, we're making progress. Now, there are other places that I think we need to deliver. A $15 minimum wage. I wish the president would cancel student loans. I've called for that, at least do up to $10,000. I have pushed for an expansion of Medicare for dental, vision, hearing. We need a bold climate bill that still needs to pass. But when you look at also what we've done, we shouldn't diminish that. We had checks that went out under the American Rescue Plan. We passed the child tax credit that did help a lot of working families. The infrastructure bill, I still believe overall is a good thing, even though we haven't had the other part of it yet. So my view is that we ought to be talking about the things we have done. We ought to also be clear about what we want to do. And the only way we're going to get to do what we want to do is to elect more Democrats.
You see how what all politicians do When they count credit, they count, I sponsored a bill. Did the bill pass? It didn't. Shut the fuck up then. That's not a count as an accomplishment. The House passed the bill. Did it pass the Senate and the president passed it? No. Then shut the fuck up. That is not achievement. An achievement is getting a bill passed into law. You don't list a bunch of things of you trying.
I mean, the idea that we would be hurting the party and not be unified heading into the midterms, and obviously I respect people's right to dissent, but that's not going to achieve our goals to hand over the speakership to Kevin McCarthy or to see Donald Trump return in 2020.
And it's not going to achieve our goals to hand over the speakership to Nancy Pelosi or the White House to Joe Biden, as we can see. I'm going to rewind it back so he can say some more of this dumb shit.
To private health insurance is a tax. It's the biggest tax on working families, and why we need Bernie Sanders as Medicare for all. That would be a huge tax cut for most Americans and most businesses, and would provide finally health care to everyone. So I am a 110% supporter of Medicare for all, Bernie Sanders' vision, and it's building support in the House. Obviously, we're not there, but the fact that we're having hearings, the fact that we have Jeffrey Sachs, the fact that so many people who are listening to this are advocating for it.
He's describing incrementalism is what he's describing right now.
We're making progress. Now, there are other places that I think we need to deliver. A $15 minimum wage. I wish the president would cancel student loans. I've called for that. At least do up to $10,000. I have pushed for an expansion of Medicare for dental, vision, hearing. We need a bold climate bill that still needs to pass. But when you look at also what we've done, we shouldn't diminish that. We had checks that went out under the American Rescue Plan. We passed the child tax credit that did help a lot of working families. The infrastructure bill, I still believe.
Briahna's gonna get him on this shit right here because he's listing a bunch of bullshit. Let me just go back so you can hear Briahna's response.
Student loans, I've called for that. At least do up to $10,000. I have pushed for an expansion of Medicare for dental, vision, hearing. We need a bold climate bill that still needs to pass. But when you look at also what we've done,
what we've done. Get out your pencil and pad. Let's see the list of what they've done.
Shouldn't diminish that. We had checks that went out under the American Rescue.
He's talking about the checks where they shorted us $600. Those checks.
Rescue Plan. We passed the child tax credit that did
the one that expired. That one
did help a lot of working families. The infrastructure bill, I still believe overall is
again. You're listing an infrastructure bill that never passed. Oh, wait, the infrastructure bill passed, not the BBB.
Good thing, even though we haven't had the other part of it yet. So my view is that we ought to be talking about the things we have done. We ought to also be clear about what we want to do. And the only way we're going to get to do what we want to do is to elect more Democrats. I mean,
you on your own on that one, because I am not pulling no lever for no Democrat ever again, unless it's the type of Democrat how I describe the militant style of my militant style.
The idea that we would be hurting the party and not be unified heading into the midterms.
Hurting the party is a team thing for him. Hurting the party. What about the hurting people? What about that? Huh, Roro? What about that, Roro?
And obviously I respect people's right to dissent, but that's not going to achieve our goals to hand over the speakership to Kevin McCarthy or to see Donald Trump return in 2024. I guess.
So which goals have Joe Biden and Speaker Pelosi executed for us?
I just don't see how that helps the progressive agenda.
Why should voters believe that electing more Democrats is going to change anything? When you see, speaking of Medicare for all, what just happened in California, where an overwhelmingly Democratic legislature ultimately killed the state Medicare for all bill despite the governor running on Medicare for all and everybody involved articulating a desire to have Medicare for all. 88% of Democrats and 50% of Republicans, overwhelming majorities of Americans support Medicare for all, but you can't get hardly 50% of Democrats in the House to back these Medicare for all bills. So why will electing more Democrats make a difference?
Well, first of all, because we've come a long way since when Sanders first ran in 2016. I mean, you got over half the House Democratic caucus on that. And at the very least, even if we don't go for Medicare for all, which I 100% support, I'm on the bill. I don't believe in diluting the Sanders bill.
That's all. I'm not diluting it. This is all to keep his credibility as a progressive or leftist.
But at least we can start extending it, have dental, have vision, have hearing. We got close. Move Medicare to 60 to 55. We're making progress. And there are a lot of other issues. Look, the House passed a lot of these policies. The House passed $15 minimum wage. The House passed bold green.
If something needs to be, in order for something to become law, it has to pass the House, the Senate, and have the president sign it. You see how he's still trying to get credit for the House simply passing a bill. What does that do? And does Congress ever do a theatrics where they put up a vote knowing that it's not going to pass, or pass legislation in the House like HR 1? The House knew that shit was never going to get done. They passed it. You know why? So they can go to the constituents and say, we wrote a bill and we passed it. They're getting credit for not passing bills.
Green energy. The House passed child care. The House passed universal preschool. We have a problem in the Senate. You don't think that if we had a few more Democratic senators, that would make a difference? Because that's really been where the block is.
I don't. Representative, have you heard of this theory of the rotating villain?
I have.
Okay. Do you subscribe to it? Do you subscribe to the idea that it's more than just Manchin and Sinema that are holdouts? And if for some reason Manchin and Sinema were to vote along with the rest of the Democrats, suddenly there wouldn't be another flank of objectors that kept things from being passed?
I think in some cases that's true. I carried interest, for example, the fact that you've even had Trump and Biden, everyone campaigns against it. We still have this carried interest exception. I'm sure there are.
You see what they're doing? They're telling the public, oh, we can't get that because of this and this. It's like, no, we can't get that because of like 15 of you. Not 2 or 3 of you. But the other 10 or dozen or so, they're in district that they could lose. So these are the 2 right here. These are the ones we're going to say, these are the 2 that are the holdouts because they're in Republican districts.
There are cases like that where the lobbyists get to the person on some committee and prevent it from happening. But in a large part of the agenda, I don't think that is the case. And I don't think we ought to think it that way because progressives I believe we're on the 10-yard line. I believe we've mobilized and won so many of the intellectual debates. What I would hate to see is people get.
We're at the 10-yard line. So for those that don't know the sports analogy, when you're in football, it's 100 yards. 10-yard line just means you have 10 yards to get to score. So you went 90 yards and you only have 10 left. He's saying they've went 90 yards of the 100 yards already.
People get disengaged and give up.
Why are we going to stay engaged when you aren't doing anything? I'm going to stay around and listen to your lies? While you lie to my face when you're not going to do anything. Let's go.
up, and then to see people like Kevin McCarthy or Donald Trump come into power because voters are just want change.
If they come into power, what is different? If we replace AOC, all of the squad, with the most conservative Democrats legislatively, what is different? What bill would have passed if we had two more progressive Democrats, 5 more? What bill would have passed that did not? What bill would have been stopped?
Change, and for us to lose all of the progressive agenda that we're working for working families and for more.
They pick up on things like working families, that phrase, and they start repeating it. These politicians.
Justice in this country. I think our only choice is to continue to organize, continue to mobilize. I don't mind people criticizing me and saying, oh, I compromised too much or should have done this or that, as long as they stay engaged and continue to build a progressive.
So as long as you stay engaged, he's happy. So you can call him a lying-ass motherfucker for acting like he's a leftist. Just tell him to his face. He doesn't mind that.
Influence and continue to work to get help Democrats succeed. I think we can have an internal disagreement, but disengaging is handing over power to folks who don't have that agenda at heart.
Don't have that agenda at heart. Does Nancy Pelosi have that agenda at heart? Does Joe Biden have the agenda at heart? Steny Hoyer? Jim Clyburn?
See, I would argue that what AOC is doing is not disengaging.
Well, certainly she isn't. I'm not saying that about her.
In saying what she's saying, she's not causing people to disengage. And pointing out the truth of why people are disengaged, that's not causing people to disengage. Insisting that things are good, that this is fine when the room is burning, I think that's what's causing people to
disengage. Rokana. When Joe Biden has a 40% approval rating overall and a 33% approval rating on the economy, and then you tell me he's doing great, that's going to mean what I'm experiencing, you are experiencing. So it's no need for me to be engaged with you because you are completely different. I'm seeing 40% approval. You're seeing an A.
People to disengage. And I would love to hear you opine on what you think happened in California, because certainly the argument cannot be
he doesn't want to answer
that you just need a few more Democrats, a few more progressives elected in California, given how many people overwhelmingly, how electeds support Medicare for all.
I agree with that. I'm not going to defend what happened in California. I was a strong supporter of Ash Kalra's bill. I don't think we should have withdrawn.
Why does he keep saying things like strong supporter? I support this. Your old bill. You notice how he keeps doing that? As if that's a thing. They're also conditioning us, or maybe they're conditioned to talk about all the things that they tried to do that weren't successful, but they want credit for all of the trying.
Drawn in, I think we ought to vote, put people on record. The governor ran on single payer. He ought to deliver on single payer.
Why do you think Ash Kalra chose not to force the vote on that issue? We had him on the show and talked about it.
I have a lot of respect for Ash. I think I know how passionate he is on this, but I told him, and I think we should have forced a vote there. I mean, I think the governor he campaigned explicitly on single payer. It's one of the reasons I endorsed him. I stuck with him in the recall, and I made it clear over and over again, publicly and privately, that we ought to pass single payer.
This guy stuck with the terrible Gavin Newsom. I don't want to be part of a party where I'm in a party with Gavin Newsom and Joe Manchin. There's no way that I can be in a party with those two because we don't have the same values. Like, you're just joining. Anyway, I'm going to go on a tangent. Let's go back to 1016 is the timestamp Let me see where we're at. 10:16 here.
I think this president has gotten the policy right.
Earlier this month, reporter Max Blumenthal asked you a similar line of questions about why Ukraine, why send weapons to Ukraine, and why intervene here when there's so many other conflicts in the global context that America chooses not to intervene in. How can we trust that this is something other than a strategic choice rather than a moral one, especially given the United States' long-term involvement in the region? Earlier, you mentioned that this should be between. You contrasted the fault as being 100% Putin's fault and not Ukraine's fault. But the real question that much of the left is asking is the extent to which this is a combined result of both Putin's actions and the United States and NATO's long-term actions. And when Max Blumenthal raised some of those issues to you and put this video out.
Prices are already going up massively because of the sanctions. Inflation's going up, and that's all to fight Russia. I mean, that's the message Biden and his people are sending. Don't you think? I mean, do you think Americans? What skin in the game do Americans have for Ukraine?
Americans have the skin in the.
You can clearly see that this smart guy, who can sound great prepared, where he keeps saying the same things to try to prove that he's a leftist, for example, when he's prepared, he's great. This question clearly threw him off.
In the game to stand up for freedom, to stand up for human rights. We've always
stand up for freedom and human rights. Can we try that here first? How about we do that here first?
Done that as a nation, and we want to make sure that we stand up for Europe and NATO.
He's completely just going off the cuff, freestyling like a rapper. That's all he's doing right now. He has no idea, so he's just saying vague platitudes. American dream. I mean, has he said American exceptionalism
and when
yet?
Max Blumenthal raised some of those issues to you and put this video out.
Prices are already going up massively because of the sanctions. Inflation's going up, and that's all to fight Russia. I mean, that's the message Biden and his people are sending. Don't you think? I mean, do you think Americans? What skin in the game do Americans have for Ukraine?
Americans have the skin in the game to stand up for freedom, to stand up for human rights. We've always done that as a nation, and we want to make sure that we stand up for Europe and NATO, and we stand up to bullies. I mean, people see on television Putin killing children, killing mothers. I mean, it's horrific. And we as an America, we are the greatest nation in the world. We've always stood up for freedom. We stand up for human rights.
So raising inflation and raising oil prices for freedom.
I don't think that's connected. I think the reason that people are paying $5 at the pump and $6 at the pump is because these big oil companies are profiting billions of dollars.
You responded with a since-deleted tweet that said, the far left's refusal to condemn the immoral and illegal Putin invasion is appalling. It's nihilistic relativism. I stand on my words in this exchange and reject Max Blumenthal and RT Talking Points, where he's a contributor. I have human rights progressive approach to FP, to foreign policy. Do you stand by that tweet? Why did you delete that tweet?
I do. I don't think it's deleted. I stand by it. I think it's still up there because I stand by it. It was in response. Max put out something calling me a neocon because of my position on Ukraine, and I thought that was ridiculous.
He said you sound like a neocon.
Anyone who knows my career,
he should have called you a neocon because you are.
Advocacy against the first Iraq War, my advocacy against.
Okay, so there's 15 wars. You're against 7, but you're for 7.
The invasion of Libya, my advocacy in Yemen.
So you're pointing out 3 of the most egregious, literally, Libya, Yemen, like these are some of the most egregious of all the imperialist acts that they're committing. So that's the one you want to stand on. None of the other ones.
Would certainly not describe me as a neocon. He put that tweet out, and it was in response to that tweet that I put it up, but it should still be up. I think people can just go on Twitter and find it. And I absolutely stand by it 100% because I thought his characterization that I believe that Ukraine should be able to defend itself in a just war, that somehow that makes me a neocon.
See, now that's I'm gonna leave that.
Was just wrong.
So Max's tweet that you're responding to read, after campaigning on a peace platform, Ro Khanna sounds like a Bush-era neocon spouting American exceptionalist bromides about freedom not being free.
I stand by it. I said that Ukraine is standing up for its territorial sovereignty.
You didn't say any of that.
They're in a just war. We should stand with them. We should provide them with weapons. I distinguish that from wars which I have been opposed to, like Iraq, which I didn't think was a war that was justified.
Right. That war polls low. That's why all the wars that poll very, very, very low. This guy is a polished politician. That's not a coincidence.
Justified. I was for the initial invasion in Afghanistan to go after Al-Qaeda, but then I thought it wasn't worth staying there for 20 years to see one. But I think he can succeed in destroying a lot of Ukraine.
So he thinks that's a difference. He thinks
because again.
So you started the war, took everybody over there, and then you were against them staying that long. You think that makes you any difference than Joe Biden, than Hillary Clinton? It doesn't. Let me see where we're at here.
The invasion of Libya, my advocacy.
Whether or not you think somebody else is fighting a just war, there is this fundamental imperialist.
Oh, let me go back 1 second here.
Of sanctioning Russia and the massive package of arms authorized for Ukraine, right?
Invasion in Afghanistan to go after Al-Qaeda, but then I thought it wasn't worth staying there for 20 years to see one Taliban government replaced by another Taliban government. Here, I think the Ukrainians should fight for their homeland, and that it is a just war, and that it is appropriate for the United States to give weapons. And so I stand by that position.
But I think what Max was responding to was he asked a question about the rising cost to Americans of sanctioning Russia and the massive package of arms authorized for Ukraine, right? So he's talking about two things, whether or not the sanctions are effective and whether the downsides for American citizens are worth it. And two, whether or not the United States should be sending arms, regardless of whether or not you think somebody else is fighting a just war. There is this fundamental imperialist question of whether or not the United States should be the one advancing those goals, providing arms to people, regardless of whether they're neo-Nazis or not, any number of regimes across the world that has taken and done all kinds of things that we now, in retrospect, regret.
A true leader of the world, if the United States was a real leader, and I'm going to unsure this now, a real leader would be trying to bring peace all over the world. So a real leader, one, wouldn't have instigated this whole thing. But let's say it popped off. Real leader would have jumped in. Hey, what can I do to make sure that this stops today? That's what a real leader does. Not try to sell arms to people who are marching themselves to a for sure death because they can't compete with Russia, even with the military supplies you're giving them. That's what a leader does. That's what a world leader should do. This should have been over a long time ago. This whole Russia, Ukraine item should have been done like long time ago. But there's arms to sell. And let me give you an update on where we're at with just remembered a comment earlier about our subscription. Oh, wow. We are about to hit. I wonder if they know this, if the FHL people know this. But we're at 1477.96. So we're 4 away. We're 4 away from. I'll put it on the screen and make it sound better here. So this is where we're at. 4 more, and we'll only need 200 more to hit our goal of 15,000. We got one more day, which is tomorrow, to hit our 15,000 goal. So let me get here. I'm going to leave this episode with a video to close out. But before I do that, there is no You Left Shit Out tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday, so there's no show on Fridays. Like this video, subscribe, tell your friends to subscribe. Just had to cover these two. I felt like there was too many stories that came out tonight. And if I let them pile up, I won't be able to get to all of them. So I wanted to do this stream to kind of take care of it. So 1 hour, I covered both of them. Hopefully, if you're not watching it live, you're able to see it on replay. And let's now share my screen here before we exit out. Yeah, I'll play you this video. And 15,000 subscribers. We're a year old tomorrow. And thank you for all your support. We need 204 more to reach our goal. And let's see if there's anything else up here. I'll put up just a couple of more of your comments just to make sure. Does Ro know the word negotiate? Doesn't seem like it, does it? Right. That's the sign I want. That's what I want to hear. What do you have to say? You're talking about borders, you're talking about sovereignty, you're talking about all this stuff. What do you have to say about Palestine? That's the real question. Right. So, all right. So, no, the channel wasn't blocked. The video that I did earlier, I guess this places that the video I did earlier got removed. Actually, YouTube removed it. I don't even have it. I don't have access to it at all. So that is what it is. All right, everybody. This video here is about a labor camp in Florida in the United States. Yes, they call it a labor camp. So let's play it, and after this video, the stream will end. I won't be coming back. So everybody have a great Friday, a great rest of your weekend. I'll be back on Monday. All right, everybody. Here is that. Oops, where is it at? Here is that video.
And Beulah.
Catherine and Beulah. What happened to your foot, Jerome?
Dig a nail in out there by the wash house.
So you drove a nail in out by the wash house. What did your mother do for that?
She put some alcohol on it.
Where do you sleep, Jerome?
In this bed.
You have this big bed?
Yes.
What happened? How did you get that hole in that bed there, Jerome?
The rats.
The what?
Rats.
Now, Jerome, you are taking care of Kathy, of Beulah, and Lois.
Yes.
Now, are you going to give them lunch today?
Yes.
What are you going to feed them?
I don't know.
Do you have any food here to give them?
Yes.
I see. What time does your mother come home?
I don't know.
The following day, Arlene King, the mother of Jerome, Kathy, Lois, and Beulah, again was picking beans.
Aileen King, I saw your children yesterday at the Okeechobee camp. Why didn't you put them in the nursery?
I don't make enough to pay for it.
How much does it cost to put them in?
85 cents.
85 cents.
That's right.
Aileen, what time did you come out the field this morning?
6 o'clock.
What time will you get home?
About 3:30, 4 o'clock.
6 this morning to 4 o'clock this afternoon.
That's right.
How much did you earn?
$1.
$1?
That's right. $1.
Is that because the beans were of poor quality?
That's right.
Has this happened before?
That's right.
How much will your food cost you today?
About $2.
Aileen, how old are you?
29.
How many children do you have?
14.
How old were you when you first started working in the fields?
8.
You've been working 21 years in the fields?
That's right.
Aileen, do you ever think you'll be able to get out of this kind of work?
No, sir.
All the migrants travel fourth class. If there is a privileged class, they ride in their own jalopy, in the best Jode family tradition.